recollected it was Freddie Roach, who trained Hopkins for 2 fights, and said to me that he thought Pavlik was slower as he moved up from 160 pounds.
Not a good round 2 for Kelly Pavlik, and the crowd warms to the old warrior, Bernard Hopkins.
Listen, Kelly, you ain't working. You're not doubling your jab.
Okay.
You ain't working on anything we worked with. You understand? Please, you got to work this kid. You got to double your jab. All he's doing is pot shotting you with 1 or 2 shots. Now you got to keep working. Double your damn jab, throw your right.
Here you see Bernard land a left hook where he made the body motion as if he was going to throw a jab, and landed a great left hook right up in the high area of the head, and comes back with a left punch right up between the gloves. That's the punch I think that did damage to Kelly's right eye.
You've heard of happy endings. This has been a happy beginning for Bernard Hopkins.
In a terrific round 2, Hopkins, by CompuBox count, landed 15 out of 45, including 11 out of 23 power shots. Pavlik only 6 out of 34. Bernard Hopkins, to my eyes at least, has clearly won the first 2 rounds. Harold Letterman has given them to Hopkins as well. In the second round, Pavlik seemed momentarily staggered by Hopkins' left hook. And you heard Jack Lowe very urgently between rounds saying to Kelly Pavlik, you've got to double your jab, you've got to be more active, you've got to fight.
Pavlik's jab has been more or less neutralized by Hopkins.
But if you look at Kelly's legs, he's a little clumsy with his legs, and that's what Bernard has taken advantage of by giving him movement, something that most of his other opponents have not given him.
And giving Pavlik the business a little bit there as their right arms were locked. He was whacking Pavlik with his left hand, showing some of those old school skills for which Hopkins has been known for so long.
Well, what he's doing mainly is cutting down on the punch output of Pavlik.
Exactly, and that's correct. And
that's been one of his strongest points, and what Hopkins has always done so well is to cool off an opponent's strongest virtues.
Good left hook up between the gloves by Hopkins. Rips Pavlik with his left hook again. Right hand by Hopkins. Faster hands for Hopkins are bedeviling Kelly Pavlik. Pavlik is going to begin to take more risks, it seems. He's got to in order to get his hands going against Bernard.
Bernard seems to be winning the fight by just picking his shots, doing just what I was predicting on the victory, and landing hard, clean blows with his, instead of just landing 1 punch. He's landing a lot of power with those shots and creating footwork, movement.
Now Pavlik begins to block Hopkins' left with his right and try to let his left hand go a little bit more. Pavlik said, I'll be okay on the inside. I can muscle him, I'm stronger. It's very hard to deal with Bernard Hopkins inside where he knows so much and uses it all.
This wasn't altogether unexpected by the Pavlik camp. His trainer, Jack Lowe, said it would be a tough fight for 6 rounds.
This threatens to be the 3rd consecutive round in which Hopkins throws more punches than Pavlik. The formula for beating Hopkins is that you throw more punches. That's how Taylor beat him twice. That's how Calzaghe beat him. If Bernard Hopkins is able to throw more punches than Kelly Pavlik, Pavlik's got a problem.
Well, Pavlik has a problem.
I don't need you going gun-ho. I want you jumping at him, X. I want you taking your time. Doing this thing with no effort, baby. That's the king. All right. Taking that walk. Take that walk down the center. Keep working behind that jab. All right, baby, hold on with that. Keep that jab. Keep that jab and use that feint off him. You see that upshot that's there. He don't know about this, man. He don't know about that. Turn that thing up, come back over the hook. But I don't want effort. I don't want you reaching big. You reach big to the body. I want you reaching big to the body. All right? Keep the hands moving. Don't waste energy. This joker think he gonna fight in the second half of the fight. So he pacing himself. He trying not to do a lot now, so he can jump big later.
So far, Hopkins is not fighting like the old Hopkins, but he's not fighting like an old Hopkins either.
He's fighting one of the best fight I've seen him fight probably since he fought Felix Trinidad.
Beating Pavlik to the punch. Harold Letterman, how'd you score the first three?
Okay, Jim, 3-0. 30-27, Bernard Hopkins. I think it's amazing. I got to tell you, Jim, listen. I think the key to this fight so far is Bernard Hopkins gets off first every time. He throws the first punch. He's effective with the left hand. He's effective with the right hand. I mean, he's hurt the guy in a couple of times. He staggered him in the second round. I think the key is he's just throwing that first punch, keeping Kelly Pavlik on the defensive. 3-0 based on clean punching, Bernard Hopkins.
When is the last time you saw Bernard Hopkins after the end of 4 rounds be ahead on points? Even in beating
When he beat
De La
Antonio
Hoya,
Tarver here 2 years ago.
and that was about it. But other than most of his fights, he doesn't fight too much early. De La Hoya was ahead, I think. Trinidad, most of those guys after the first 4 rounds. This is very unusual for him.
This is very much like the Tarver fight in the sense that he has come in as the underdog and has taken the wind out of a bigger opponent's sails, a taller opponent's sails at least, early in the fight.
Well, right now you see Kelly starting to exert his pressure and his physical size and his youth.
Let's go. Let's go.
Hopkins hitting Pavlik on the hip. Pavlik tried to hit Hopkins back on the hip, away from Benji Esteves as they were wrestling. Pavlik is getting into a little bit more of a rhythm, taking a few more risks, trying to throw more punches.
But it seems to be having an effect on his time, Bernard, now. For the first time I can see him making Bernard fight at his tempo that he wants to fight.
Well, that's the obvious question. We saw how Bernard Hopkins fought the first 3 rounds. Can he do that for 12 at age 43? And now Hopkins moves laterally and once again confuses Pavlik and beats him to the punch and lands a right hand inside. Hopkins is having fun in there. It's no fun for Pavlik so far. Good left hand by Hopkins as he moves away. Pavlik pressuring, hasn't landed anything big.
Punch.
What happens in this last half minute could determine
Good
the
left hook
outcome
by
of this
Bernard.
fight. Of this round, I should say.
All right, hold on. Got it, that's the back of the head now. Come on now.
So that's what Bernard was doing. He's making him, Kelly shoots his right hand. Bernard is moving to his own right, which is taking the power away from Kelly's right hand.
Well, Bernard Hopkins' big line leading up to the fight is, what is Kelly going to do? And he reacts to the initial shock of discovering that he's not in against an old fighter. The shock is there.
It's starting to come.
How now
Listen,
does
we're finding
Pavlik
our range,
react?
baby.